action surf. The action surf. The action surf.
Welcome to the Action Shelf. The podcast celebrates the glory of B action movies. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Listman.
Oh, Listman, as always, all good things must come to an end, and this has probably been our best straight month on the show ever, right?
I think so. I struggle to think of a better month that we've ever had.
It's pretty rare we get more than one good movie at a time, really.
Per month, yeah. Exactly.
So we wrap up Adkins April, our salute to the man we love, Scott Adkins. Oh, we love this guy. And
we love to watch his films, but we also love to see him go because he's got a nice butt. There, I said it.
There it is. I did not clock his butt, but I believe you. That would make sense.
Yeah.
He doesn't emphasize it like Van Damme, where the buns are like part of the move, you know.
Right, exactly. He's a bit more tasteful in his butt shots, I think. His glute angles, but I don't think there's anything in this movie that's really highlighting it here. I give this movie 2 thumbs down for not showing bare ass.
Well, he's co-starring here with a guy whose ass I've seen in plenty of other movies as well, Mr. Dolph Lundgren. Lundgren never afraid to show them buns either, or Stallone. I feel like those '80s guys, that was big on like we put in the work.
Right, yeah. We make our butts toned. We got to show it off.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, what was the point?
I can only imagine that in the 80s it was just like, hey, Dolph, you think my butt's better than your butt? You know, I really did some butt exercises today.
Yeah. Hey, why don't we, like, compare and contrast, you know? At each other's butts. It's totally fine. We just want to know who has the best butt.
It's just about deciding who has the better butt. There is a scene in Tango and Cash where Stallone and Kurt Russell get thrown into prison together, and there is a scene where they are both just casually nude in a shower having a conversation, and you just get it's just both of them going like, "Look at my ass."
Yeah. Well, speaking of Dolph, this is not only a movie starring Dolph Lundgren.
No.
It is directed by Dolph Lundgren.
Directed and produced by Dolph Lundgren. This is a
and
Dolph.
I see that Scott also was an executive producer on this.
Yeah,
as well.
this was a passion project for both of them, and you know I think it shows. I think this is this the best Dolph we've seen?
Yes, he has a lot to work with here. I think this highlights maybe the limitations of Dolph as an actor.
Yeah.
Because there's some things he can't quite get to, but he at least gets stuff to play with here instead of just being
he seems to want. I was going to say
pilot or whatever.
He seems to want to be in this movie, which I would say is often the biggest thing. Is not so much that Dolph is trying and failing. Usually, it's that Dolph doesn't even try. Here, maybe it's a little outside of his grasp, but he is going for it, and that makes a huge difference. And this movie looks way better than the last thing we talked about that he directed.
Yes, that last movie, Missionary Man.
Missionary Man, indeed. Yes, yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, that movie
horrible.
Was truly atrocious.
Well, he
truly atrocious.
He was really.
He didn't seem like he wanted to be there for that.
No, and he was really trying to do something very artsy with like the color design of it. This I think is just competently shot. I don't think there's anything amazing that he does here, but I think it looks pretty decent.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about comparing this to Missionary Man is that you say Missionary Man had sort of an artsy sort of aesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
but this movie looks way better than that movie.
Yeah.
Uh, like you said, there's nothing too like out there or experimental or game changing about it, but it looks decent.
It looks decent. And
as
Dolph,
opposed, the other movie looked bad.
yeah, Dolph. I think it feels like it's like Dolph has been in enough movies, and certainly has a lifetime of fighting that, like, yeah, he generally knows how to present the fights to make the fighters look good. I think that he definitely, I definitely got that feeling that he was like, I want to emphasize Scott Adkins, martial arts, because while this is directed and produced by Dolph, this is really a vehicle for Scott Adkins, right?
I would say Scott is probably the main character
Yeah.
here, although he has less emotional stakes than Dolph.
But
the movie. This is kind of his movie.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think. I mean, we start with him.
I mean, he has the character arc.
Yes, right. And also there. I mean, I was very actually happy that they end up teaming up in this as opposed to them fighting. I like seeing them
Yes.
together in this.
Well, this movie gives you both, best of both worlds.
You
They
still
fight
get,
and then they
don't
team
worry,
up.
they still get to fight. It's like a superhero movie, right? Where like when the characters first meet, they have to
Right.
fight, and then decide,
Yes.
then decide to work together. So this is
Right.
2021
Reluctantly, but
Yeah.
they do, yeah.
2021's Castle Falls, which
Yeah, pretty recent.
pretty recent. In fact, an interesting note about this is, and I was telling you before we started recording, I was just watching last night we've plugged Scott's YouTube show, The Art of Action, before. His conversation with Dolph Lundgren is fantastic, and that was recorded while they were on break from this movie, because this movie shot for half a day before being shut down by the coronavirus. They had shot literally only
Jesus.
half of a day.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they started shooting in March of 2020 and then actually went and shot the rest of it. Basically shot all of it because, like I said, only half a day in October of 2020.
Yeah.
So, but they were both talking about, like, Dolph was going like, it's a great script. It's a really good script. It's got a great part for Scott. And I think, by Action Shelf standards, I think it is a pretty good script.
Action Shelf standards, yes.
Action Shelf-
Everything that is set up is ultimately paid off. The basic math, like algebra of screenwriting, is there.
Which, once again, by Action Shelf standards, that's like leaps and bounds above most movies we watch.
Yes, just considering what you're writing in and like how that will pay off later in the script.
It's
really all we're asking.
It's a
for
very
here.
slight film. I think without credits, it runs like 85 minutes.
Yeah, which is also very much appreciated.
Very much appreciated, and it's a very simple premise.
Yes.
That really,
Yes.
but is like a good premise, and is also a premise why no one's around.
Yes, there's a premise why no one is around and why people are hesitant to use guns at first, at the very least. But obviously, eventually, that gets thrown out the window. But yeah, it's a pretty good reason, and it's a great excuse to set a movie in an abandoned building.
Yes.
Because a lot of these movies have like final climactic scenes in some sort of construction, like vague construction or industrial area or whatever, and this movie's no different. It's just the whole movie takes place. About all of the movie
that's
takes place.
The thing
in
is
this one location.
that's the thing about the movie, right? Is unlike so many of the other movies where movies just find themselves in abandoned warehouses and stuff.
They just stumble upon
like,
it.
well,
yeah.
I guess we'll have the fight in here. This whole movie is specifically set, and also they really lucked into filming in a hospital that was completely abandoned.
Which
Which
I wouldn't be surprised if they found. Well, I don't really know when the script was written or whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised if they found the hospital first and were like, we could film something here. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how the thought process worked, because
sure,
without that set, it would be really hard to do that. So yeah,
for sure. Like, somebody drove by this abandoned hospital and went, "Hey, wait a minute! There could be a movie in there. That's not a bad idea."
Exactly.
Die Hard in an
Yeah,
abandoned hospital.
Yeah, because who wrote this movie? Because it's not Dolph.
No,
Dolph
no,
just
no.
adapted the
This is
script.
Andrew Nauer. Is this who
Okay.
has an interesting career? His first script was the movie The Last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is pretty good. I like that movie. And then he goes
Yeah.
on to write. He's written mostly comedies aside from this. He wrote a movie called Ghost Team 1, and then the movie he wrote after this is called Senior Year, which is a Rebel Wilson comedy. So
Okay, gotcha. And that came out last year.
yeah, that was a Netflix movie. So he's a
Okay,
working
gotcha.
screenwriter.
Yeah.
And that's the
Not
thing.
like a lot.
Not like a lot,
of-
but like a
of-
guy who and kind of what we're talking about with this movie is like this guy he generally knows how to put a script together. It seems like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Basic understanding of.
there's the basic building blocks, and there's just I think the character work is always going to suffer in these action movies because they're 85 minutes and have to get to fights. But I think this movie has just enough shading for each of the main,
Yeah.
at least the two main characters. I understand.
Yeah.
And big thing is like I understand their motivations. They're clear throughout the movie why they're doing the things they're doing. This is
Yes.
always Action Shelf faintest of praise because we've seen so much bullshit.
Yeah. We're broken men.
Right, we're
that's
extremely
been
broken,
established.
and so it is
Yeah.
just like I'm just going like, man, on a moment-to-moment basis, I was tracking this movie, and I have to say I generally liked the movie. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
I think it's maybe a little slow to start. I mean, they do spend that time like justifying why it's taking place in this building, justifying like everybody's motivation and everything. But I will say the action doesn't really start until like almost an hour into this hour and a half film.
Yeah.
So, if you want to watch this, just know like once the fights start, the fights are great, but
Yeah.
this is kind of a slow burn for being a hour and a half.
It is,
long.
but I actually didn't mind that. I found in this, like, I wasn't gonna say like
Yeah.
I was overly moved by anything, but I was generally
Yeah.
interested in each of the characters, and I do see there's a lot of 1-star reviews that are people going like, "Man, too much talky talk, not enough punchy punch," and you're like, well. It's like, dude, I don't know. I mean, it is. I feel like the filmmakers maybe would describe this more as a thriller than a straight up action movie.
Yeah.
The end of it is nonstop action. Like once the action kicks off,
Yes.
it just barrels to the end. But it does feel like the movie is mainly more about like, yeah, in some ways I just appreciate the ambition of an action show movie actually going like, no, we're going to take like the first half of the movie to establish who everyone is and why they're doing this insane thing.
Yes, definitely. Especially because they're all like working separately from each other, so it's like a lot of like you can't establish two characters in one scene because before everything intersects, they don't know each other.
Right.
That takes up a lot of time as well. So, yeah. I also really liked this movie. The dialogue was fine. I think that might have, as far as like the screenplay construction, I feel like the dialogue was maybe suffered the most.
Yeah. Once again, I guess
there was very clearly a lot of improvised lines.
Yeah.
From people who
There's
seem like are not
Yeah.
improvisational actors.
The dialogue isn't bad, but it's not good either. I guess is kind of the thing about it, right? Like it's because we've certainly
it's
seen
just kind of generic.
Yeah, because we've definitely seen enough movies where you're like, Jesus, this dialogue. It's a little, it's maybe a little. I think that leads to maybe some of the awkwardness in some of the scenes. It's like it doesn't. It's like I know what this scene is here to do, but like,
I will say every scene with Scott Adkins crackles because Scott is such a force of acting talent. He is,
and
he elevates literally everybody he's in a scene with.
He absolutely does, and I will say, like,
which
right,
is really what you're looking for.
Right from the start of the movie, I really liked his character. Like, they do a good job of not. They give. Once again, it's like if you give Scott something to do, he can really do it. So I was with the main character of this movie, which is obviously not usually the case at all. But I'm going like, oh, I do, because Scott in this movie plays Mike. Is it Mike Blake? Is that what it is?
I don't.
Mike.
Sure.
Mike Wade. I knew it was something short like
Mike Wade. Yeah.
Mike Wade, who is a kind of never was professional MMA fighter, a guy who was always sort of trying to get in, but maybe didn't have the goods fully to be. Which I do.
And then he kind of aged out of it a little bit, you know.
And he still wants in, but they're like, dude, the time passed, and you weren't there. Which I do love when action show movies go like, okay, so this movie's about a construction worker, but he needs to know how to fight. So he has a background as an MMA fighter, and you're like, okay, great.
Yes. Yeah. And that's like the first, I don't know, 15 minutes is dealing with him and that backstory.
Well, because the movie is consciously constructed. It introduces us to each character as like, here's Mike. All right, and we get Mike's whole story. Then we get Erickson, which is Dolph Lundgren's character, and we get his whole story. And then we'll take everybody to the hospital where the movie's going to take place.
Yes, which I don't know if we've mentioned, but Erickson's main sort of plot is that his daughter is dying of cancer.
Correct.
And he doesn't have enough money to pay for it. So he needs to... and he works he works security at a prison, right?
Yeah, he's in the he's a corrections officer of some sort, so that's his thing. And by the way, his daughter played by Dolph's real daughter.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this makes
sense.
This is his oldest daughter, I believe, Sigrid Lundgren. Sigrid Lundgren, who I did look up.
I was just about to say, I am afraid to ask what her age is in comparison to Dolph's new wife.
This is what I was going to say, because we've joked about Dolph's wife. She is 1 year older than Dolph's wife.
Well, I guess that's okay then. Wait, no, that's not okay. That's 1 year.
Yeah, Dolph's wife is 1 year younger than his daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, as long as everyone's happy, I guess there's, you know.
Yeah, his daughter's 26, his wife is 25. Yeah. I just imagine that must be so weird.
We've talked about this, but I don't even know what you talk about when you're at completely different stages of your life, you know, and you have completely different perspectives. To each their own, obviously, but it just seems like that's a recipe for disaster.
It is. And his daughter I don't think she's really an actor, but she's been in both of the two of the movies he's directed. So I think it's more just a case of and she's not really in the movie that much here.
Not really. Yeah.
It's more
she just has to be very tired looking, you know.
And wearing
she does that pretty well.
Let's say dodgy bald cap.
It's good enough, you know. It's not good enough. Too distracting.
No, agreed. It's not terrible, but you're like, "Oh, I know she's wearing a bald cap, not Jesus Christ, look at that bald cap." You know, I think that's that's kind of the
exactly. Well, we're not talking Shatner toupee or anything.
No. We're not or even worse, the Reynolds toupee.
Right. Yes.
Reynolds wishes he had Shatner's toupee. And I gotta say, oh no, good.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
I was gonna say, I'm just imagining the image of both Shatner and Burt Reynolds auctioning for the same hairpiece. You know what I mean?
I bid 500.
That image is just in my head. I bid 500. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we did talk about that on the set of Star Trek, the toupees would just go missing. Didn't we talk about that on here? That it would be like every season they were like,
did we?
I don't know if we did. Maybe that was something else that we were doing or some other podcast I was on. But yeah, they talked about like every season of Star Trek, they'd be like, hey, where are Shatner's toupees? He had just stolen them from Paramount.
Yeah.
Because they would make him for camera, obviously, these really nice ones. You just go like, yoink. Mm-hmm. It's mine now.
I guess that's mine now. Yeah.
He probably just went home wearing it, going like, "Night, everybody." And they're like, "Wait, damn.
Wait, hold on. That's not your hair."
We're never getting that back.
Yeah. I wonder how many. You think one for each season?
Yeah,
maybe?
you got 3 out of it. Yeah, just at the end of each season, he's like, "Bye, great season, everybody. Bye.
I'll see y'all next year.
Yeah.
Bye."
He's just every time they tried to make a new Star, he's like, "We have to make a new Star Trek movie because I need a new toupee."
Exactly. That's the only reason any of the Star Trek movies got made.
What do you think? Star Trek 6? Daddy needs a new toupee. The captain needs his hair.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cut to Picard being like amateur.
yeah. Oh, does he?
Yeah, weirdly enough, Picard, Patrick Stewart also stole toupees, but didn't wear them.
There is the story about when they did make him audition with a toupee just to see.
Oh God,
Paramount
that probably looked terrible.
Yeah, Paramount was like, there's a picture you can see online of him in the uniform with the toupee. But Paramount was like, let's try it with hair.
Can you imagine, like, I'm just trying to imagine a time where even showing a bald man on television was radical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's very interesting. They couldn't even have a lead of a show be a bald white man, you know?
No, they're just like, I don't know.
That's a little
yeah,
breaking ground here. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know. Will people? Yeah, it was like, will people get on board with this? Are people gonna watch this? Because I just
turns out, yeah,
a heroic guy without hair. I
don't know if I see it.
No, yeah. It's so funny to me. Yeah. So anyway, this movie though, yeah. So they each have reasons for needing money. At a certain point, Scott is living in his car, right?
Yes, he is.
Well, that's that. Yeah, he's living in his car. He desperately needs work, and he gets a job from the unemployment office, clearing out and basically doing like preliminary demo for this hospital that's gonna get demolished,
blown up.
Yes, exactly. And so he's excited for that. And is like, great, I'll need the opportunity. Son. By the way, love that they let him be British, of course.
Yes, thank God.
Yeah.
Why not? Just let him speak in his own accent.
Couple lines. It's just a couple lines where it's like, yeah, when I was over in the UK, I did this or whatever.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't need to... Stop trying to make a deal out of it. Once again, it's not weird.
Yeah.
So he's doing that, and then meanwhile there's for a second before you really know what Dolph's deal is, like we know Dolph has a sick daughter, but the idea that we cut to this prison attack, and I was like, what the hell?
It did seem like another movie had just started.
Yeah, it was
in
like
the middle of this movie.
What's going on? This is okay.
Right.
So yeah, he so we get this prison attack, and the guy who got attacked, right? Isn't it him who's going, I want to talk to Dolph Lundgren? And they're like, well, he's not here.
Yes.
His daughter is sick.
Which I don't know why they would tell.
They only tell him that so he will know it later, which I did think was a little like, okay, screenplay. All right.
This guy's name is Lando, by the way. I was excited for Lando to make an appearance.
Lando.
This character.
Yes, this character is named Lando, and he wants to talk. And when he does finally get to talk to Dolph, he's like, "I hear you need money."
Yes.
And Dolph, once again, like we were talking about, it's weird that he knows this. He's like, "I hear your daughter's sick," and Dolph is just like, "How do you know that? Don't you talk about my daughter?" And he starts attacking this guy.
This guy kind of propositions Dolph for something while like there are other security officers.
He also really doesn't,
kind of brazen.
It's very brazen, and he's super vague. And once again, talking about Dolph's daughter, he really does not handle this well.
No.
By the way, listen.
But so Dolph out. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I just sent you a picture of Patrick Stewart with hair. So.
Oh jeez. Okay, I'll check that in a little bit.
It's in the chat on here. Just as a note.
Okay.
I'm so glad we interrupted the podcast.
Of course. Yeah. No, it's very important. Well, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah. So Dolph rejects Lando's offer.
I don't make deals with prisoners, okay?
But despite this, the villain of the movie is still like, oh, he's offering Dolph this thing. We got to get on this. So he he starts watching Dolph even before Dolph agreed. I think I don't know what
This
the
is
timeline is
this
here,
is
which
Scott
a little
Hunter,
convenient.
who plays
Yeah.
great bad guy name Deacon Glass.
Deacon Glass. Yeah.
Deacon Glass,
yeah.
who we should say when he's introduced, he and his psycho girlfriend are talking about dealing drugs of some sort.
Yes.
Did they say
now,
what kind of drugs it was?
They did not.
They
no.
just go, man, that stuff was pure.
Yes, that is the extent
So,
of what they get.
and that
into.
immediately is like, oh, they're bad. If they're dealing
they're
drugs
bad.
that are
well,
pure.
he also, the first scene that he's in, he's like, all I care about is money and power.
Yes.
And that's like it's like, oh, okay, well, a little on the nose there, but it's efficient storytelling.
Is this guy? Let's see.
It's like, okay, this guy bad.
Oh, I looked.
This guy's a stuntman.
He's a stuntman, yeah. So he's mostly
Yeah.
here. And I will say, when he gets to fight, he is awesome.
Yes, his acting
His acting is not
but
terrible. It's once again, it's like it's okay. I think everybody in this movie is baseline okay.
yeah.
But
him and the woman Kim
yeah,
DeLonghi, I don't know. if I'm
DeLonghi,
pronouncing
yeah,
it.
we've seen her before.
Have we?
She was
What's she been in?
She was in Beyond the Law, the Steven Seagal movie where he was the mob boss and never stood up.
I don't remember her being in that.
I think
do
she's the
remember
female
Skull.
lead
I
in
do
it.
remember the movie.
Yeah, I think she's in that. So that yeah.
I've just got to say, not super impressed with the performance in this movie, but can't speak to her overall talent.
I mean, I will say she doesn't do much. I just saw her in the Liam Neeson movie Marlowe, but she also plays the character of Broad with the cigarette. So
so she's a main character.
Yeah.
I think. He's the protagonist of the film.
she is in an Antonio Banderas movie we'll have to cover at some point because we haven't done Banderas in a while. We'll have to get him back.
It has
on.
been a while.
We love
yeah.
that guy.
We should do at least one per year.
Yes, if we
at the very
to
least.
balance out the one Seagal per year we have to do.
Yes,
we should do at least
exactly.
one Banderas because we end up doing.
Now, which? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we end up doing a lot of Dolph, and I was looking at the rest of this year, going, "There's a lot of Dolph, and a lot of it is incidental. Like we're doing a movie for another reason, and Dolph is in it. Kind of like this, where we're like, it's Scott Adkins month, and Dolph is in this one, and he directed it. You can't avoid this man. We have one coming
Not
up in a
really.
couple months that's I was like, oh great, we got a Tony Jaa movie, and what's this? Dolph's in it. We put it on there for Tony Jaa, and we end up with Dolph.
Yeah,
You just
well,
can't.
that's okay.
You can't avoid him. It is okay. I do think like you and I were talking about this the other day. Is like, and you were saying like, do we take it too easy on Dolph? I'm like, I think we do. Because I just like Dolph Lundgren. Like, I like the guy. I want to like.
He's been in some classic, movies. He's played iconic roles. It's hard to not think that he could do better.
If you're a fan
than
of
what we
action
often see.
movies, you've got to be some level of a Dolph fan, right? He just has such a stamp on this genre, and when he's good, he can be really good and stuff. It's the thing. It's sort of, I still want to do Blackwater at some point with him and Van Damme.
Right, which is not about the actual company Blackwater.
No, it's a submarine.
Yes.
It's a submarine movie.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
but also the thing is, he's unavoidable. He has almost 100 film credits.
Yes, he's like Eric Roberts. Not
Not even
prolific as
close.
Eric
But
Roberts.
at least in the world of like leading man action guys, yes, he's extremely prolific.
Well, yes, because Eric Roberts doesn't limit himself to any
Here's the
particular
thing:
genre.
he's as prolific as Seagal, but we like him, so we cover him more.
Yes,
Based just on the amount, like the amount of output, we should be talking about Seagal as much, but we hate him, so we avoid him. That's sort of the thing. Is
right,
like
exactly
by not
yes.
actively turning away from Lundgren, we end up talking about him a lot.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that is a good point because Seagal is not a good actor or even a martial artist at all. So
That's another thing too. Is I do have a lot of respect for Dolph's martial arts training, which we do get to see a little bit here.
We do get to see a little bit. We don't really see that much in a lot of these movies. Honestly, we've seen very little, which is a shame. So
it
was
is
nice
a shame.
To see it.
The other thing is certainly, I mean, he is definitely a much older man, so it's like he does like one fight in this movie, and it's pretty great.
It is pretty good. I will say his age really showed whenever he had to climb a staircase.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was pretty rough. Was
Yeah.
pretty rough for him.
It is. The thing is,
And
though,
he full on lumbers in this movie.
He
He
does.
Sasquatches across the set.
well, he's not only is he an older guy, but he's 6'5" too. He's just this
He's massive.
He's a huge man. So yeah, he's just kind of like, here I go. I mean, there's a reason that he was cast in Rocky IV as his breakout role. Is just like, oh yeah, because when you see him, you're like, Stallone can't fucking beat that guy. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
that guy's
exactly.
a monster. Oh god, I can't even. There's some Dolph Lundgren comedy that I shudder to watch.
No thanks.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to cover that anytime soon.
I'm good.
Trying to imagine him doing a comedy. I've always been very funny.
Well, him in the Expendables, he's kind of the comic relief after the first film.
He kind of is in that, but all of his things are like a tossed off kind of like joke like this. I'm not sure he should be carrying a comedy,
No, and if any of those jokes land, I feel it's more on the people reacting to what he's saying as opposed to his like pinpoint delivery or whatever.
Yes, because also all the comedy in those is like ribbing each other too, right? Like
yes,
it's like
exactly.
Yeah, he is funny when he's like making fun of Stallone. Probably not if, once again, it's a whole different thing if it's like, you're gonna be funny in this one, Dolph. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh
That's a bad sign.
boy, that's not good.
Yeah.
How you doing? Oh, that's coming out. The best.
What is coming out?
The comedy's coming out. It's called The Best Man with him and Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson's funny.
He is. So maybe.
But they do also have machine guns on the
Luke
poster.
Who?
They both have machine guns on the poster for that. So I think that may be less of a comedy than it initially seemed. But
okay.
Anyway, yeah, Luke Wilson's, by the way, in a lot of these movies now, which I think is weird.
Huh.
He's another guy like Cusack, where you're like, they weren't action guys to start with.
Yeah, but Cusack actually has
kickboxing
martial
training.
arts background.
Yeah.
So Luke Wilson is an interesting choice.
Maybe if he's playing like a lovable everyman pulled into a situation, I could see. But I don't believe him as like a special ops guy or something like that.
Should we watch a Luke Wilson action movie
Yeah, we've got to.
just to get it, just so we.
I like the guy
it,
too. I'm legitimately a fan.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like
we need to explore all the fathoms of this industry.
Well, I will say he's got one
really shine a light.
He's got one coming out with Dolph, and of course he has one with Bruce Willis.
Okay, great. That
makes
sense.
Yeah, we have a few to pick from.
Okay.
So yeah, and then let's see who's in this one. Oh no, this one only looks like an action movie. Never mind. Back to this movie.
John,
yeah.
What did you find more distracting? The villain's weird tattoos, or the woman, his girlfriend's really realistic looking scar that's on her face?
That scar was such an interesting choice.
I thought it was also a tattoo. And in fact, there's a scene where he's like caressing her face, and you can see the scar smudge a little bit. Oh, no. Which is why I thought like he had something on his hand. And
I will say it did take me a second to realize they were trying to indicate that was a scar.
Well, I didn't realize it until they said that it was a scar.
Right.
Because she has a backstory that's hinted at for some
She has
reason.
a backstory, yes. And she's because if you have a team of thieves in a movie, one of them's got to be fucking crazy, man.
Yes. So she's the fucking crazy one.
Which, I will give them only this, is that is rarely a woman. So I will give the movie that. That is an unusual choice.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least. For a movie that is pretty, rote. Not in a bad way necessarily, but it is like this movie doesn't have a ton of ambition to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which, again, is a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, she's in this woman's also in a Western with Sam Worthington and Tom Jane. We might have to cover that.
Okay.
That sounds like a...
We haven't done a Western in a while.
Yeah, we got to get back to the Westerns. We've talked about we got to do a Western month at some point. I think the last Western we did might have been a Bronzy.
Did we? Oh, we did. I
We
forgot
did do
about
a
that movie.
Bronzy
I was
Western.
thinking of the one with Dukakis that we watched.
Oh,
first year.
the Shooter.
Yeah. So I think we've only done 2 Westerns
Man.
so far, which is
What's
shocking
interesting is
considering
I
us.
feel like we keep going like, oh, we don't want to do too many Westerns. And so we end up doing like no Westerns. You know what I mean?
Basically
Like I think
none,
we keep going like,
yeah.
wow, we don't we did I feel like we're worried we're gonna tip over too much into Westerns and then we overcompensate. We'll get a Western.
Right.
Don't worry, folks.
So
we'll get a
maybe
Western.
maybe a Western month might be a good
A
way.
Western
to
month.
just,
I know there's a Trejo
Yeah.
Western. I really want to do.
Okay.
I really want to do Trejo's Western at some point.
Definitely got to watch that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause
If
it's-
there's a Eric Roberts Western, yeah, I will also watch that.
We are doing a Snipes Western coming up when we do Snipes September.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty
And I don't think this will be covered on the action shelf, but John informed me that there's going to be a Michael J. White Western
that he
coming
also
out.
directed.
Right, exactly, which is very exciting.
Very exciting. I'm
Yeah.
very excited. He's directed a couple movies. I was actually thinking about this because Dolph directed this. Scott's got to try his hand at directing at some point, right?
He should, yeah,
Because
he does a lot of like executive producing,
and he started to write. He wrote Accident Man that we talked about. And he's written a couple of things now, and I think he definitely has some ideas for these movies, and I think he'd be great.
Yeah. Honestly, I think so too. Because there's obviously a lot of stunt people who get into directing now. So that is a trend that is happening. So I think Scott would do really well to.
I would love to see that.
follow
I would
trend.
love to see that. I mean, if Dolph can do it, and once again, I think Dolph's doing just fine. We have another Dolph directing thing coming at the end of the year, which I'm way more excited about actually, because it's in terms of plot, it sounds way more ridiculous than this.
Awesome.
So the whole point of this movie, and I kind of like this in terms of it being like a crime thriller, is there's a bunch of money. It's a very simple, it's almost like an Elmore Leonard novel or something like that, where it's like there's a bunch of money in this hospital that's about to be demolished, and we have 3 separate sort of groups, two individuals in this one group, and they're all coming to converge on this place.
Yes.
And that's a great setup for like a crime action movie.
Yes, and it also gives a ticking clock because at like 2 p.m. or whatever, the building's going to blow up.
And at a certain point, we are literally following the countdown, which
there's on screen, there is a ticking clock.
And I will say, they actually hold to the clock pretty well. I looked at the timestamp of where the clock started, and it was about right for what was left in the movie. So
yeah,
they do sort of have an almost real-time third act.
Yeah. That's true.
Because Scott is working, as we talked about. He's clearing out this place, and boy, you just know the guy's dead meat as soon as he becomes Scott Adkins' friend, huh?
Oh, George! God damn it, George! Why they have to do this to you, George? You're so likable.
Because I am like the second he goes like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And he starts talking to him, and Scott gets him out of a jam when he had taken fruit from this man. We've been in enough situations where we've had shitty managers and stuff. The guy goes, "And who took fruit from the mayor's table?" We've all worked for one of these guys who's just like, dude, what do you fucking care? Like,
there's plenty of fruit left over. Who gives a shit?
And this guy actually remembers having seen Scott Adkins fight.
Yes. So they bond over that, which felt that again. Every scene with Scott is really, really good, and this felt improvised, but I think in a really good way. This exchange between the two of them. Maggie and I legitimately felt for this guy. So
I thought this guy was pretty good in this. Actually, this guy who played George, and he works a lot. He's in a lot of TV. He did an episode of Better Call Saul. He's done a few episodes of Cobra Kai. He's in a few episodes of She-Hulk. Nice. So he's a working character actor. Yeah, he's in like big stuff.
He's got a lot of stuff going on right now. That's
awesome. He was very well cast in this because you do instantly like him.
Yes.
And they have a nice little
going to die.
Yeah, but the second they start hanging out, he's like, "Hey man, yeah." I'm just like, "You're fucking dead. This guy's gonna die. This guy is dead." And yeah, he will be killed later.
I mean, he didn't say I have a wife and kids,
No.
and like I'm
he does
a
though.
week away from
weirdly,
retirement.
Weirdly, he does have a wife and kids.
He does, but that's not like they don't beat you over the head with that.
No, I was watching the very much in this way. I was watching an episode of Law and Order, Organized Crime, because I watch all the Law and Orders, and there's literally a scene that just starts with two patrol officers you've never seen before, and one guy goes, "Yeah, it's the best thing. My kid just hit a home run. I'm so proud of him." I'm like, "You're dead," and within 30 seconds he had been machine gunned to death. Like, yep, this guy's fucking dead. Yeah, man. Yeah. I just love my son. I'm so.
Yeah, in this movie, he's just like, yeah, I actually grew up in this hospital. It's kind of like an orphanage. Abandoned kids or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, just sympathizing with you.
How much more sad backstory do we need before we can kill you?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the one thing where the budget does really show is the mayor's press conference, where no one there's one
maybe
there.
5 people there.
Yeah, and the mayor's going like, because the whole thing is, was the hospital's Castle Heights? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's Castle Heights.
I think it's
Hospital.
Castle.
Yes.
Yeah, Castle Heights Hospital, and the whole thing is they're going to tear it down and build a better hospital, right? Hence Castle Falls.
Yes.
See what they've done there?
Getting blown up. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, very clever. Actually, very clever. I will say we shit on a lot of titles of the movie, so I will say this one's pretty good.
I mean, it's not avengement.
It's not even a word. I love Scott Adkins going like, "Oh, god damn it, they put that fucking stupid name on it." It's not a word.
Not even a word.
So yeah, so they're all Scott, while he's demolishing one of these things, finds this bag of cash. And he's like, "Oh my god!"
And he's like, he hides it, and he's like, "I'll come back later when nobody's here."
And so yes, we see him go back later, then to do that, because he's like, they're gonna they're clearing everyone out because they're gonna implode the hospital. And Scott's like, "Oh wait, I left my jacket back inside. I gotta go back and get it.
It's me punch card.
Yeah.
It's the only way I'm getting paid.
I forgot my punch card, so I gotta go back in there." And so yeah, he goes back in. He runs back in there. He thinks this is gonna be real easy, except also in there, bunch of bad guys, because they roll up on the scene.
Well, maybe the problem is that instead of just taking the money immediately, he instead has to take every single stack of dollar bills inside every single bag and lay it out in
oh yeah, this is a huge mistake on his part.
In the building that's going to blow up, which was driving me up the walls. Like, what? No, just take it. Count it later. What are you doing?
Of course, because he's a professional fighter, he has to do celebratory fighting moves.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giving the bad guys just enough time to come in the building after him.
Because he's shadow boxing.
Because even if you know
like 15 straight minutes.
Even if you know you have like 90 minutes before the building implodes, I'm not sure I want to kill any time,
No, it could go off on accident early,
Who knows?
Or whoever's money it is that you're taking might come back for it since the building's about to blow up.
And wouldn't you know it, that's what's going to happen right now.
So weird.
Yeah. So the bad guys roll up. They kill poor squeaky voiced teen security guard.
Oh, you're not allowed to be in here.
Excuse me. But of course, they're just going to tie him up until he's like, "Hey." By the way, stupid decision on this guy's part to go to the woman holding a machine gun and go, "I seen you dance at the strip club where you dance, thereby recognizing you and making me a loose end."
But he's also being condescending toward.
He is being a dick about it too.
Which is just like, why?
What are you doing? She has a machine gun. And
why would you?
She just lights this guy up.
And you're kind of like, I guess he deserved it because he's being kind of shitty. Not that she's like a sympathetic character here,
no.
but
it is
being pretty shitty.
It is more like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Don't do that, you moron. So yeah, he gets shot. I will say, okay, this is a small John's gun corner.
Sure.
The gun use in the movie is just fine. However, the guns in the movie, all have the warning labels that go on airsoft guns. Yeah. You can see. I can see that.
I
can
notice,
see.
But
Yeah, on the side of every barrel is like the warning: "This is not a toy. You must be protected." Yeah, guns don't have those.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I clocked
That's
it.
very funny.
I clocked it because we've done movies with airsoft guns. A thing is about like, how do I get that off of there? I will say that other than that, all the gun use is totally fine.
The only exception to that, I would say, one, there's a lot of silencers.
Again,
do not work how movies.
No.
Yeah,
I've long ago let that go, but yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't get bogged down.
No, you'll
but
drive
the
yourself.
other thing, is that so there's a press conference happening in front of this demolition, right? Where there's reporters, where there's police officers, there's the mayor, but there's a whole gunfight happening inside this building.
Yeah, not that far away.
And on the roof.
They're not super far away.
No, they would hear it because it's.
They would hear it, and they might even see the muzzle flash of it, honestly.
Exactly. Because not all the guns are silenced. Again,
at a certain point, they definitely aren't. Like, by the time you're up on that rooftop fight, they're just lighting up.
And there's full-on, like, semi-auto rifles. There's
a guy's blasting away with a
shotgun
shotgun at one point, too. Like, when they're firing up in the elevator shaft, it's like...
Right. Like, all of that would have been heard by everybody on the ground. Probably within, like, several, like, maybe, like, I don't know how many blocks, but...
Here's the thing, though, I love about movies like this. This movie couldn't give a shit about that.
No.
Not doesn't... Is like, hey, man, if you're watching this, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
We're not gonna...
It's Castle Falls. You clicked on a movie starring Dolph Lundgren and Scott Adkins, all right? Did they kick people? You should be happy.
Then shut your fucking face.
I will say, here's another. On the poster, Dolph is holding a Desert Eagle, a gun that never appears in this movie.
Which I approve of, because Desert
Eagles are very stupid. And I only really like them in totally insane things like Equilibrium. He has Desert Eagles, and it's like, because it's just a fucking crazy comic book at that point. But it is horrible from a tactical standpoint. It is one of the worst guns you can have.
I mean, it breaks itself. Yeah, when you fire it, there's a good chance it will break.
Yeah, because it's just there shouldn't be a 50 caliber handgun. That's ridiculous.
No,
you don't need that at all. Anytime anybody has that, I'm like, you are massively overcompensating for something.
Yeah, exactly. You know what else works? Any other gun.
Yeah, any other gun is just...
All guns are pretty effective at doing damage.
The other thing I don't understand about the poster is Dolph is wearing aviator sunglasses with the American flag reflected in them. What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. He doesn't wear sunglasses.
He doesn't.
In fact, he wears glasses.
That's kind of one of the things I liked in this too. Is Dolph lets himself look old.
Yes, he does.
Once again, I like the kind of lack of ego on Dolph. Like, he's playing an older guy in this movie. He's playing the second lead. He kind of knows where he is in his career. I think he's not. Yeah. He's not being like, no, come on. You can't pretend you're. Not a 67-year-old man. Like, it's just
unless when it comes to your dating life. But we don't.
Well, yeah. Uh-oh. Shots fired. Oh God, we've got to do his World War II Navy movie with Frank Grillo. That's his most, as of the recording of this, that is Dolph's most recent release, Operation Seawolf.
Operation Seawolf, excellent.
Yeah.
I hope Frank Grillo is the Wolf.
I hope so. We've been burned before, though. They fooled us with the Frank Grillo appearances. That guy, man.
Yeah. He's good. He's very good.
He's very good, but he knows that, so he's like, yeah, I'll be in your shitty action movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'll go make
it on the poster, and that'll get people to fucking watch it.
Yeah.
Fucking chumps like us.
Yeah, because we're always like, oh, Frank Grillo, he's a badass. And it's like, hey, so we haven't talked about is how much this movie cost, Lisman.
Oh, that's true.
What do you think this movie cost?
It does look really cheap. It does look very.
I mean, I think
cheap.
it's similar to Avengement, where you can tell it's cheap, but it for the most part does a pretty good job of like utilizing its money well.
Yeah. 4 million. 4 million. Is
Holy
that?
shit! Exactly 4 million.
Hey, all right.
That's that. I'm trying to remember. Has that ever happened before? On the button, man. 4 million.
Wow.
That's a rarity.
I'm getting so good at this.
Yeah.
Well, actually, next week I'm going to be like 20 million off. So. Just to keep
I
myself
think it
humble,
cost 10
apparently.
million. What's that? 500,000. Oh,
Shit.
damn it.
God
Yeah.
damn it.
Soak it in now. But yeah, 4 million
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, for 4 million, pretty good.
Again, yeah, I'd say this movie looks pretty good. I think Avengement looks better.
Well, I think
because
Avengement
it's less ambitious.
Yeah, Avengement really. I think I gotta put that as my favorite movie we've ever watched on here because it is
It's up
one
there,
of
yeah.
the best action, like low budget action movies I've ever seen. Just in terms of like, it is a low budget action movie. It's not apologizing for that, and it just, oh man, that movie's so good. Like that movie's that's the highlight of Adkins. All of these movies have been baseline watchable to pretty good, and that
Yes.
though I thought was just fantastic. So.
Well, let me ask you this: if you had to rank the movies we've seen, so we're wrapping up the Adkins.
Right. I mean,
How would you rank the movies?
I put
we've seen?
Avengement at 1.
Same.
I think I'd put this at 2.
Interesting.
I think there's a lot of the high. Accident Man has some high highs, but I think
Yes.
it's not as tightly written as this. Ninja's at the bottom. Ninja's objectively a bad movie.
100%.
Yeah.
We both agree on that. Yes.
But I think
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
both Accident Man and Castle Falls have their flaws, but I think this
Yes.
is more watchable than Accident Man. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I would agree that the script is a little cleaner.
Yeah.
In this.
But
movie.
but the fights are better in Accident Man.
Yes.
Yeah, the fights
yes.
are really good in Accident
This movie doesn't have a origin story, like a 15-minute origin story in the middle of it that
Right,
just stops
right,
the.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
There is a moment where Scott Adkins is flashing back to earlier in the film. You know,
Yes.
like. And that's unnecessary, but it's shorter.
It's
than
short. I mean, the movie
15-minute
this
stint.
movie is it's just 15 minutes shorter in general, which is
Exactly.
a good call.
Well, it did the thing that we wanted Accident to do, which is cut that shit out.
Yeah, I think
So honestly, for me, Accident Man in this movie, it's hard to say one's better.
Yeah,
than
I
the
mean, I'm
other.
gonna say like I think
Say
this
the time.
only simply because I just like I said in terms of this just was an easier watch. I think, but there
Yeah.
were this doesn't this
Yes.
but the thing this doesn't have is the insanity because this is
Yes.
trying to be more serious. Like there really aren't one-liners in this. This is definitely trying to be a more serious movie.
Yeah, it's definitely grounded.
Yeah,
for
which is
sure.
which I can also appreciate though. So I do think it's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting thing. Now I have a feeling that Accident Man 2 could really deliver though, and we will be
Yes.
talking about that upcoming. Of course, we have to talk
Well,
about
because
Accident Man.
there's a
Hitman's Holiday.
fight scene in that movie that won an award, right? Like
I believe that's the case.
there's like a different. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of. Because obviously there is no stunt Oscar. Unfortunately,
yeah,
so-
which we're still furious about.
which is fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
It's
that
fucking
is
bullshit.
that is absolutely.
Do you remember the name of these? The
I don't like the
act-
stunt awards or the action awards.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they are called. He won before because
Yeah.
Avengement also won.
Yes.
Won
yes,
as
it
well. Which has incredible fight scenes.
did. So good.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. The International Action Film Award? No, it's
Well-
not that simple. Anyway, we'll if you know, write in.
Look it up later. Yeah.
But
please.
But so of course Scott's got the money, but now the bad guys are in the building, and yes, of course, poor George. Is it George? Yes.
Yes.
George comes
so.
back
Yeah.
because Scott didn't. He's coming to check on his friend, and he gets captured and then murdered.
Yes.
Because that's how they draw Scott out. Because he goes, "No!"
Yes. So Scott does what any reasonable person would do, which is hide the money and then go on a blood soaked vengeance spree,
and at the same
murder
time,
everyone with his bare hands.
Dolph Lundgren's in the building, also just kind of casually, as we have it, just sort of lumbering around. It is sort of like all the big stuff, because the first big thing Scott does is leap through this construction chute when they're shooting at him. Oh, I think he kicks the guy down the elevator shaft first, though.
Yes, so yeah, that is his first kill theoretically,
which is pretty good.
Kicking a guy
That's a
down
pretty
an
solid kill.
It's pretty good, and I like that he referenced later. Dolph is like, "You ever how are you with killing people?" And Scott's like, "I'm pretty sure I killed somebody earlier when I kicked the elevator shaft."
But then he still struggles to just shoot a guy point blank. Like it's still even still. You know, and
they do set this up because in his sparring match at the beginning of the movie, they're saying like, you don't have that killer instinct to be a fighter, and it's that killer instinct that gets him to lose this fight. Well, he has to learn it later in this film. I don't know if it's like a positive arc for a character to be like, oh yeah, he learns how to kill for the first time or whatever.
I mean, the positive spin is like he learns he can't. Push comes to shove, he can do what's necessary.
He'll do what's necessary, and he does do the right thing at the end of the movie. With that will.
He does, yeah. So I think this movie manages to mostly avoid the sociopathic hero that so many action movies have, and you just have to be like, okay.
Yeah, him wanting vengeance for George is justifiable enough for him to do all of these.
And he doesn't kill. Actually, he doesn't even. I'm trying to think. Does he kill anyone just out and out?
He shoots somebody in the head, I think.
Oh, he shoots the other guy in the. So because the scene we're talking about is he gets the bad guy's gun and he's got it on a guy, and Dolph is like, just you got to fucking kill him, and he's telling him like, drop your gun, man. And then Dolph pulls the trigger for him. But then the other guy is going to come up and kill Dolph, and Scott just kind of quickly shoots him. But that's the only time he like pulls the trigger on somebody in the movie.
I think so.
Because
does he kill anybody with like martial arts? Does he?
No, I don't think so. Because the bad guy, at the end, he defeats the bad guy in a fight, but gets out, and then he dies in the implosion of the building. And the woman gets killed because that's got to be the kill of the movie, right?
I'm trying to remember how she dies.
She dies because she's going to attack Scott Adkins, and then Dolph throws the piece of wood that sends her to the edge of the window, and they just see movement, and the bad guys shoot her like 20 times.
Yes.
And then we love action. One thing we love on this podcast, a dummy fall. A dummy of her falls to the ground.
We do love it.
We love a dummy on the show.
And then the villains have the look on their face of, fuck, I totally shot up my crazy
that's got
girlfriend.
to be the kill of the movie. She falls towards the window, gets shot a bunch of times, and then slams into the ground. That's pretty great.
That is pretty good, yeah.
But once again, like is that kind of stuff. Dolph shoots a couple guys just out and out. But for the most part, Scott only that's the only time, and even that is still like in quick self-defense.
Yes, exactly. He's not like ripping throats out in this movie. He's not pulling them.
And that makes sense because he's not a special forces guy. He's an MMA fighter. You know, he's got skills, but he's not a trained killer. He's not psychologically there to murder people. Now, I don't know what Dolph's background is prior to him being, because I'm not sure being a corrections officer means you can just take a gun out and start dropping dudes, but
it seems like his character has done some kind of like special forces work or like has some sort of training. He seems like he's killed before until kind of is well,
and that's I think that's another thing is like also Dolph shows up in something, and I'm assuming he's a former Navy SEAL or something just because he's Dolph Lundgren. Exactly. Right? Like, we've seen him play so many super soldiers and stuff like that. Man, we got to cover some Universal Soldier movies on here.
We really do.
That's Dolph and Van Damme. That's the franchise they do. Those are great. I love the Universal Soldier movies. So let's talk about the big fight that is between Scott Adkins and Dolph Lundgren, because of course you get the I don't know what you're here for, and I don't know what you're here for. Although it's interesting that it's Lundgren who pretty quickly is like, I don't know, you seem all right, man. It's Adkins
That's
who needs
true.
convincing.
Even though Scott is clearly lying. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what you're talking about money. I just work here.
I just work here, man.
He's like, all right, you seem okay.
Yeah. But they get their big their throwdown, which is kind of a cool fight because Scott is, not a huge guy, so watching him fight this gigantic Dolph Lundgren. And the other thing I like is they really do have him fight like an MMA fighter. Like he does a lot of grapples from the ground. We know.
Yeah, that's the grounded nature of the like they really do. He does the martial arts that his character, and that
right.
It's that attention to detail which I really do appreciate in an action movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to let's see who's the Tim Mann is our fight choreographer. Do I feel like we've seen him?
Ask, yeah.
Have we talked about that name? Sounds familiar. Yes, we have. He has done other Scott Adkins movies. He also did Accident Man.
Okay.
He also did the fights in Accident Man and Abduction, which we talked about as well. Which actually didn't have a lot of fighting in it, but he did One Shot.
No.
He did this, and of course he did the second Accident Man as well. He also did Triple Threat, which we've never covered on the show, but we both love that movie.
Yes. So he's kind of Scott's guy.
He's definitely, he works with Scott on a lot of stuff.
Yes, which is great.
Absolutely,
the choreography is all really good in this movie.
And it looks like he's done some of the fight choreography for some Michael Jai White stuff too. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So and he's great. I think every fight in this is really good.
Yes.
I think the final fight between him and the main bad guy is the best fight though.
Is the best. Yes, absolutely.
It's so good and
100%
so brutal. They're
yeah.
really like that does a thing I love in these action movies where it's like, oh, this is really what it feels like. This is not, I love a martial arts movie, but oftentimes when you're doing kung fu movies, it's very pretty, the martial arts.
Yes.
People
stylized.
People always talk about that. By the way, if I have to hear one more person go, in an actual fight, kung fu is not a very effective form of martial arts. Like, shut up.
Like, I don't care.
I've heard that so much. But it is the coolest looking martial art, and that's why they keep making movies about it.
Yes, yeah, it's very cinematic.
Yeah, man. But that's such a action nerd comment to make. Actually, if you know kung fu, you couldn't fight somebody really in real life.
It's the action shelf equivalent. When Viggo Mortensen kicked that helmet, he broke his toe. Did you know that in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah,
it's like that. Well, but
it's that thing where it's just like, yeah. I know.
Yes, no, we get it. Yeah.
You're
very smart. Thank you.
Yeah, we understand. But that's the thing I like about this. This feels very visceral. This is like, this was like if two guys are trying to kill each other in a fight.
Yes. And this fight, it mirrors the fight that the sparring match that he has at the beginning of the movie, where he's like on the ground and like defending it.
And of course it culminates in the moment where we saw him get choked out at the beginning. He's getting choked out here. Exactly. But this time, and it's awesome when he flips the guy over his back here.
Yes. You also
get a couple
again, that setup and payoff.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just like this movie shows where it's like this movie is so generic, but it's satisfying because it works as a basic story. It's not setting out to do anything ambitious, and that's okay. We don't expect that necessarily of a big action, of like an action shelf movie. It delivers on what it needs to deliver, and it's doing the base level. That's the thing, is like some of these action shelf movies, they may deliver the goods on the fight, but they can't even tell a coherent plot. This is at least going, okay, we're going to do the bare minimum to make a movie that works from point A to point B, and then we'll fill it with lots of awesome fights.
Yeah, I mean, a prime example is what we watched last week.
Ninja is absolutely that story makes no sense whatsoever. You could give a shit about any character at all. Here, like I said, I have at least enough invested in these characters for the 90 minutes of runtime.
Yes, so you're worried about a character.
Yeah. I generally like Scott and Dolph's characters. They do a good enough job of making me invested in our heroes and making the bad guys evil enough that I want to see them get what's coming to them.
Exactly.
And you get Dolph's a little arc for Dolph too, because of course at the end of the movie Scott lets him go, going, you go to save your daughter, so you get out of here. But then when he's in danger, Dolph does turn his truck around to save Scott Adkins. And you're going like, that's fine. That's good.
Yeah. It's good. It's just
what I expected. This movie gets a passing grade.
Yeah. Solid B-. I don't know about that.
Maybe
a B+.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, especially if we're grading on the action shelf curve, then absolutely a B+. Like Avengement's a rare A on this show. I think an Accident Man's probably B, and then you get more into like like a C for Ninja,
Yeah.
That's a solid C right there. Maybe a C+. So let's see, is there anything else in this movie we haven't talked about? We talked about the thing at the end where the timer is going. I just want to talk about this last. So yes, and as Scott gives his half of the money to George's family, which is very nice, and then drives off to Alaska based on he's got a want ad for jobs in Alaska.
Yeah, because George was bringing up maybe getting work.
That's right. He's like, you and me, man, we should go to Alaska or whatever, right? And something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's nice.
Yeah. I should also mention the building up was not great CG.
It was not great, but it's once again like everything is the caveat of far from the worst we've seen, but also not great.
Right. Exactly.
When it first started, I went, "Oh, that looks okay," and then the more it fell, I was like, "Oh, that doesn't look that good."
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It'd be great making a model would be difficult for that kind of thing.
I thought maybe because it was in a real thing they were going to tear down. Sometimes they do let movies actually demolish buildings.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, that's
what I was praying for.
That's always cool when they
very
get to
cool to watch. I love videos of buildings implode.
It also makes me think of a Simpsons joke I love, as always. I'll always find a way back to the Simpsons. But the when they're gonna blow up Mr. Burns' casino that failed, and the guy's literally he's at the plunger, and he's like halfway down pushing it in, and Bart goes, "Cool, here comes the implosion," and the guy goes, "Implosion," and then the building explodes outward. As if some kind of demolitions guy would be like, "Wait, we're supposed to implode it all."
Wait, hold on a minute.
And the crowd is running from the explosion. It's great.
Oh boy.
man, it's that show. Just the best jokes ever. Let's talk about this. The weird last moment of the movie though is the brother of the bad guy getting his in prison.
Right.
I don't know that I needed
to
this.
Tie up those loose ends.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that brother character.
No, because he's not established enough where it's like, well, we better see him get killed because we fucking hate that guy. You know what I mean?
No, like his brother got his.
Yeah.
Like the character didn't need to be. There could be a reference to the brother character.
And actually, on that we didn't talk about. I do like that last moment with Deacon Glass when he's got all the money and he's on the roof going, "I got my money," and then the place implodes. Yeah. That's solid.
Sure. Yeah. Classic villain.
Yeah.
It's almost like an Indiana Jones.
Yeah, where it's like that's what you get for your greed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's always satisfying. You got your money and that's it. Now you go to hell, man, or whatever. Later, by the way, when they're gonna find those bodies in that imploded building, that's another thing. We just talk about like cops rolling out. Like whoever has to clear out this road is gonna be like, Jesus Christ, there were people in here.
There were people in here who are riddled with bullet holes. Like that's concerning.
What happened?
And then Willem Dafoe from Boondock Saints is gonna show up. He's gonna play the mental, where he puts himself in.
And he'll go, "There was a firefight."
Exactly.
Oh
boy, I thinking back on that movie, I think that movie works because of Willem Dafoe.
I was gonna say, I think that might objectively be a bad script that became amazing based on the sheer charisma of that man. And he is, because
definitely.
I mean, a guy who's always in, but he is so in on that movie.
So in, yeah.
Yeah, that they lucked out big time.
One of my favorite honestly, Willem Dafoe is one of my favorite actors.
Absolutely, because he's the kind of actor.
Such a huge inspiration.
He's the kind of actor I love. A guy who can just do absolutely anything and totally disappears. And he and Dolph have shared the screen in Aquaman.
Really?
That's right.
They're
both in Aquaman.
Wait, I don't know if I knew that Willem Dafoe is in Aquaman.
Willem Dafoe plays Volko, who is the chief counsel to Aquaman. He is his right hand man, mentor, and trusted advisor.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, I still haven't seen it. And
it's super fun. I'm not gonna say like run out and see it, but it's super fun.
Yeah,
it's a big crazy fantasy movie underwater.
So I might as well just watch it.
Yeah, man, and the final battle you'll love because it's basically a Lord of the Rings battle but with underwater sea creatures, and it's awesome. It's great. I really enjoy Aquaman. Like I said, I'm never one of those people going like, you haven't seen Aquaman, but I'd be like, totally worth your time if you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and
it is fun.
Defoe is great. No surprise,
yes.
Defoe is awesome in
it.
So you get the last moment is Dolph serving up the brother of the guy to the other bad guys who kill
Lando.
him. Lando and his buddies kill him. And I guess we're supposed to be like, well, I guess justice was served, but except for we're just like, I don't know that guy other than he seems like he does suck, but but I'm not like, oh yes, that's what you get, asshole. Like I think that's what the movie wants me to think, but I'm going like, I don't know who that guy is.
I don't care about this guy.
Yeah, I would have been content. The movie really probably, like I said, it's a rare example though where it's like, okay, agreed, that is a loose end you tied up, so good on you, script. But maybe it could have just ended with Scott driving off, and
maybe the character didn't need to be in there. Is all we're saying.
Yeah, it kind of
cut him out.
Yeah,
and then you fill that empty time with something more interesting.
Yeah, but overall, pretty enjoyable movie. Totally.
Yes.
Fun watch. Castle Falls. There's so much worse you could watch, man. I mean, really. I know that sounds like faint praise, but it's really true. Like, and I would say in general, what this month has taught us is, I mean, we already love Scott Adkins, but I will say in general, his stuff leans towards a higher quality than most of these other guys.
Yes, because he has the good, he has the acting shop, he has the martial art. He is truly a diamond in the rough. I feel like he is a gem. He is always a pleasure to watch.
Yep.
And anytime he's in something, I will definitely give it a shot and watch it because.
Absolutely. This is we enjoyed this movie, but in this case, here's somebody with a misguided opinion from IMDb, and I will say,
great.
This is a very short, not very well thought out review, but I just want to all right, here we go. This comes to us from IMDb user jscott31168, and he titles his review, "Castle Falls flatter than a pancake!" Exclamation
Got
point. How on earth has this movie got such high ratings? Weak acting, weak plot, weak filming. It has nothing. It is awful. It's embarrassing. There really is nothing positive to say. Enough said. 1 out of 10 stars.
Wow, it's a lot of nothing you're saying.
I'm just
really giving much.
I'm just going like we said, it's like there's plenty to harp on here, but like, no. It all makes an amount of sense. I don't know. Also,
it's just
something a few other people brought up is the shaky cam. There's some handheld stuff. I never thought it got too shaky though.
I never got distracted by it.
No, it's. I mean, like I said, it's clearly
oftentimes I get motion sickness from movies that over rely on it.
It's an interesting thing. I think that's people just seeing handheld and calling it shaky cam. Shooting with handheld is not shaky cam. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, they probably had some kind of rig or something.
Yeah, I think it felt like it was either on
like a steady cam,
like a steady cam or a shoulder mount or something. It never felt out of control. That's the thing.
No.
The thing about shaky cam is where it's like, all right, what are you guys doing? You didn't. Everything here felt pretty solid, passable. You know,
they didn't need to like cover the bad choreography because there's good choreography.
That's
which is
the other thing
often
too, and that's something I
shady
would say in terms of praise of Lundgren's directing is that he always chooses the right angles to emphasize how cool all the fighting is, like how good everybody
Yes.
looks. Everybody looks good
and
here.
and the action is clear. You
Yes.
know what's happening. Follow the action.
So that's good on for Dolph Lundgren. He's 1 for 2 here of his directing efforts with us. And I said we've got another one at the end of the year that's a Lundgren.
Yeah, we'll
directed.
see.
We'll see.
It'll be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now our friend Bruce didn't get to see this movie, so I thought since this movie is striving to be a little bit more dramatic, maybe we would get Bruce's opinion of an out-and-out drama film. That's a little bit different for him. And this is Bruce's opinion of a Best Picture winner. So let's check in with our favorite Amazon.com reviewer, Bruce Winning, for another segment of The Winning Opinion. All right, this is Bruce's review of the movie Crash.
Okay.
You remember Crash?
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah, everybody saw this movie. This was a movie where, like, for 1 year, we thought it was the most insightful film ever made.
But the drop-off was
The drop-off is huge. And I still don't think it's, like, a terrible movie, but it is a very on-the-nose movie.
It is a movie that succeeds via hype and nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
and
as soon as the hype died down, people were like, oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
this is not very nuanced.
It's not nuanced at all. It's one of those things where it's like, it has the best of intentions. I agree with the points it's making, but it's just like, okay, but it's the kind of movie the Academy loves. Academy loves stuff like this. When it's just like, it's a movie that's very in love with its own importance. Anyway, here, this is one of my favorite Bruce Winning reviews.
Okay.
He titles his review, I just can't handle all the drama. Okay. This is a totally different Bruce Winning experience.
I don't even know what to expect, John. I have no idea what to expect.
I guess I must have needed a good cry. I had to stop the movie near the end to deal with all the tears. All these reviews that evaluate the movie, all of the analyzing the deep meanings. I like a movie with a lot of violence. I like shooting and punching and kicking. Not this one. Better luck on the next movie. 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know if he liked it.
Well, he very clearly did not. No, it didn't have punching, kicking, or shooting.
What's great, though, is he says that, but then he's talking about how much he's crying because obviously the movie affected him so much, but then he's like, I just wish it had punching. So that's a crazy opinion.
Well, not everybody wants that,
I guess that's the thing where it's like, this movie really got to me, and I hate it for doing that.
How dare it make me vulnerable?
But
John?
Of course,
how dare it make me feel my own?
Here's the thing about Bruce, because he only watches the dumb action movies, it makes sense that he would be overcome by what we're talking about, the most cloying on-the-nose drama. To him is like, I've never seen a movie try to do this.
My God, the drama.
We're all just people.
We're all the same race.
Yeah.
The human race, John.
Yeah, I know. That's great. So there's Bruce's review of Crash.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good John, that's a good one.
Yeah, that is a solid one.
Yeah, Bruce looked inwards and maybe didn't like what he saw. Who knows?
Can I get back to the punch? There is some shooting in Crash, if I recall, but it's not fun at all.
No.
But this is a guy who also likes The Wire, which is covering a lot of the same stuff in a better way. But that he just likes for the pow-pow.
Punching and kicking and shooting.
Yeah. In that case, there seems to be enough punching and shooting in The Wire that he ignores the insightful commentary about society.
Yes. He might fast forward through the dramatic scenes and just watch the punching and kicking and shooting.
I got through this show so fast, I only watched the scenes where people got shot. Well, what do you say you and I come up with another Scott Adkins and Dolph Lundgren obviously had a good time. Yeah. So let's say that they want to re-team in a movie, all right?
Great. Yeah.
So we're gonna use our handy dandy action movie title generator to come up with the title of the new movie starring Dolph Lundgren and Scott Adkins. All right, here we go. We're gonna fire it up now, and here it is. Ooh, this one could get insightful. Enemy of Perfection.
Enemy Perfection.
Enemy of Perfection.
Okay. The Enemy of Perfection. So, the perfect soldier. Comes to mind, the idea of the perfect soldier.
Right. Yes.
The idea of failure as being a learning lesson.
The enemy of perfection. Yeah. Yes. The idea that perhaps we find, a tortured soldier, Scott Adkins, who is he's the golden boy. He's the Captain America, if you will, right? Or so he's been built up to perceive throughout his career. And maybe we find him after the first mission that's gone terribly wrong.
Yes. Yeah. And he is just broken. He's a broken man.
He's British SAS Special Forces. We want to be British.
Yes, of course.
And but he was trained by the legendary greatest Special Forces soldier Dolph Lundgren.
Right. And perhaps Dolph needs Scott one last time.
He finds him. Mission. Scott has walked away from the former, and maybe Dolph is working in private stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, but he's like, I can't do that. I messed up. I wasn't the perfect soldier you trained me to be,
Yeah, maybe he really messed up and got somebody killed,
Maybe he got straight up drummed out of the army. He didn't just retire. He got tossed out. He's got discharged.
Yeah.
And he's broken. And he's drinking too much.
Dishonorably discharged.
Discharged. Maybe we start with him purposely starting a fight in a bar because he's just full of violence and rage.
Yeah, like Accident Man a little bit.
Like Accident Man, but it's actually dramatically important to his character.
Yes.
If anything, he's sort of in that place where it's like he's kind of like Riggs, where he's not necessarily going to actively kill himself, but he's going to keep putting himself in situations that will get him.
Yes,
sooner or later, you're going to get yourself killed.
Yeah, and Dolph, this mission that Dolph is bringing him in on is off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the actual military is not. But it's never probably.
It's morally just, but the politicians and bureaucrats won't sign off on it. So I'm putting together a team.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is a team dynamic. Maybe
there's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple guys. Who else do we like? I don't know. Maybe Michael Jai White and Ray Park.
Why not?
Let's bring them in from Accident Man.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're taking down somebody who I'm assuming is.
It's probably gonna be Eric Roberts. Yeah. And what's Eric Roberts up to?
Oh, great question. So is Eric Roberts, the original Perfect Soldier? Maybe
this is what I'm kind of thinking. Maybe like an Apocalypse Now or Heart of Darkness thing, where he's gone like crazy somewhere and he's now like a warlord. He was like sent on a mission somewhere, and then like he now has taken over like an island country or something. And this is why the politicians are like, we don't even want to acknowledge that guy used to work for us, so we're just gonna let it go.
No, because the crimes he's done would implicate our entire
we technically sent him down there to do something illegal, but what he's done is way worse than that. But if we even stop him for that, we'll have to acknowledge the first illegal thing.
Right, exactly.
And so, but Dolph is like, this guy's got to be stopped. He's a monster,
Yeah.
And so he puts together.
And I think they do. I think they do succeed, but I think Scott comes to the realization that maybe the world should know about what this guy did.
Maybe that's a difference for Dolph. Dolph just wants the moral victory of having stopped him, but Scott's like, no, the world. And he learns that being a perfect soldier isn't necessarily about being, the patriot to your country's politicians or whatever. Kind of like one of my favorite things with Rick Flag in the Suicide Squad, where it's like, fuck it, man, this is wrong, and the world's got to know this. So
exactly.
Hey, that might be the actually legitimately best movie we've come up with. That sounds like a real movie that could be pretty good.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
No, there you go. That's Enemy of Perfection. Ooh, and it's a very insightful title. Look for that in your Redbox. Well, listen, we segue out of Adkins April, but we're going to try to come in for a soft landing. We talked about how much we love Willem Dafoe, so we're going to talk about another one of our shared favorite actors, and a first-time appearance on the Action Shelf. I have no idea what to expect from him in an Action Shelf movie. The great Gary Oldman next week on the show. It's a Gary Oldman movie, and it's called The Courier. And I will just say this. He has an eye patch on the poster.
John, you've just described all of the elements that make a perfect film.
He's wearing a leather jacket and an eye patch.
What year did this movie come out? I want to know what kind of Oldman.
2019, so fairly recent.
Okay, so recent.
Yeah, okay. Fairly recent. It's him and Olga Kurylenko, who was the Bond girl in Quantum of Solace, and she now plays Taskmaster in the Marvel universe. She's cool. Good. I like her. She's a good actress. So fingers crossed on this one. But as always, Listman, let's see, where do I have the tagline on this? This is good. Yes. Do you want the tagline?
Let's do it.
The movie's called The Courier, right? So the tagline is,
yes,
don't shoot the messenger.
Okay.
There you go.
You there.
Yeah. Let's see what you've done here. Once again, I know nothing about this movie other than Gary Oldman has an eye patch.
That's you know what? That's all I need. The less we know, the better. I think.
Put it on the list.
Yeah.
It's just like done. This showed up in my like recommended for you on Hulu, and I'm like, Gary Oldman has an eye patch. We're talking about it on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's where people can find it. Is on.
I believe it's on Hulu. It's also on Freevee. I think it's in a few places. So check that out if you want. Once again.
Yeah.
No idea. Make sure you find this one and not the Benedict Cumberbatch movie, The Courier, which is actually, that movie's pretty good, but just that's not what we're talking about. So when you type that in, looks like it's on Amazon actually. I think I saw it when it was on Hulu, So we'll talk about that next week. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of The Action Shelf. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Michael Lisbeth.
Until next week, get yourself some action.
The Action Shelf. The Action Shelf.